Uh, Huge pleasure to welcome you all and to the recording of our topic 2 webinar on open education. And really a nice pleasure to have Dr. Sandra Schön with us, who is definitely an international expert in open education. And yeah, they did amazing stuff in Austria, getting a certificate program in place. Maybe we will hear a little bit about this. I don't know. I'm very curious and very thankful, Sandra, that you wanted to be part of Open Network Learning 252. And yeah, I'll take away my pin and leave the floor over to you. Thank you, Sandra.
Yeah, thank you very much, and especially for the kind invitation. I always love to share what we have done, and of course, to hear what you might develop as well on your side. So, thanks a lot for this invitation, so that I'm able to share what we have learned more or less from Austria, from our European projects, and as I'm German as well, so I could give you some insights as well from this German-speaking part of the world, and looking forward how this comes together. So the chosen title of this presentation, which should be slightly interactive, so I have some questions for you as well. So don't start to sleep. I will try to figure out what are concerning some different questions on for your situation. Um, I choose the title Understanding and Use in OER in Higher Education. So this is my main perspective. I guess you all work on universities, so this should be fitting for you. And you might have seen that there's a small icon on my first slide, CC by SA, and a CC logo, and a small man, and so on. And this icon, so this icon here, um, this is, here's my pointer. This icon here is what you at least should, after my talk, recognize and have a first idea what that might what your opportunities might be to use my slides. That would be at least my learning objective for you, that you, after my talk, recognize always these small icons and have a first clue on what is going on and what this does mean. So that's me. I would say I'm an old timer, an oldie concerning OER, which sometimes seems for people who are new on that topic a little bit weird, but I was part of the first project funded by European Union money called OLCOS, which started to figure out how we can use all these internet materials now that were available, and if we can use that to make education better. And after that, I was always part of several OER projects. Luckily, sometimes already fully paid for my engagement on that topic. And as Jörg already said, I was responsible for the implementation of the National Austrian OER certification, which is quite unique. So there is no other country worldwide, to my knowledge at least, where you might find something similar. I give you the link to the English page on that. And of course, all my slides are available as well online. And I add this here as well, so that you might follow them later or make a bookmark or whatever you want. And luckily, I'm currently working on a university which is very good in OER issues. So the Graz University of Technology is in the heart of Austria, of course. Always every country and university in Europe is keen to see itself as heart of something. And luckily, we have here an OER policy since 2020, an own OER repository, which we collaboratively develop together with the Invenio RDM project. You might have seen Zenodo before, so the European platform. This is part of that collaboration. And what we do at TU Graz since 3 years now, we do annually OER reports, because as we have a policy, we are like a little bit forced to as well monitor what is going on. And if we fulfill the ideas or goals and objectives that we aimed in our OER policy, and we are as well the second certified OER higher education institution. That is part of the certificate we introduced and implemented in Austria. And of course, I'm happy that I work at a university which is good on that as well. So this is my background. Not so bad as an OER ambassador, because there might be a lot of worse situation working in higher education where you won't find no or only one or two people who are able to discuss open license issues and so on. So, and as always, so since several years, I have to start not from the best and optimistic perspective on OER, which was when I started working on the topic, always like, let's make education open and available to everyone. These days, I always make it from a different point of view. I would like to discuss what limits us as educator, as teacher, when we want to make something in education. And I think, and I hope you agree on that, what teachers typically do. So teachers and like teachers at school and lecturers in higher education or adult education, lifelong education, typically they kind of figure out materials, rearrange them, select, remix, adapt them for their target groups, for a certain idea to present something, to teach something, to make a learning project about something, but it's always more or less materials are used. And of course, we always try to make it the best way possible. So we do not really looking if there are any constraints on that. And we did that for several, I think more than 100 years at least. But currently, it gets a little bit worse because we always had copyright issues, but digitization and internet always makes it now obvious that we do publish or republish work from others. And there might be as well other constraints like financial issues. And sometimes it's just tricky as well, for example, to edit a YouTube video to make it fitting to our own purposes. But the copyright issue might be the worst part, because copyright is not only a part of our own national infrastructure, and you as well work in an international learning activity currently. So that makes it even worse because we have to be assured that copyrights are different and typically not at all fitting together. And I would like to explain that and for two concrete settings. And I brought that from a publication which is not so current, so it's from 2017, but I just don't know any current publication on the same topic, so it might be a little bit different currently, but the problem behind is always the same. So the first case that was surveyed amongst different European countries was, is it allowed that if a teacher from a public school scan pages and show these pages from a textbook in class? So currently, I don't think that any teacher at all would scan anything. I think they make a photo and show it with a video projector in the classroom. So that might be the new arrangement. But do you think that this is allowed? If you could type that into in the chat and just add as well the country you came from, that would be just great. So please consider, eventually you already know that, is it allowed that a teacher in a public school makes a photo of a textbook page and show it in the classroom? So via, for example, the video projector. You can as well answer that if you want to, but typing into the chat would be really appreciated so that we have a... So Miriam, Jörg says in Sweden, it depends on the pages. Yeah, Alexander is a little bit afraid to scan. Thanks. But we have Mary from the US. That's just great because she's allowed to do that because there's a fair use arrangement. At least she could more than we here in Europe. So I see. So some have a clear idea, some others are hesitating, and what we might see easily, it is different. So for the colleague from US, sorry that I don't have a proper answer for you, for your perspective in the US, and not all European countries are here. So Austria, my own country, is missing here as well. But you see that this very simple question on if it's possible to make a photo of a textbook is differently in all countries, at least from this list. For example, in Austria as well, we have now a new copyright law, and it is more or less forbidden. So textbooks are super safe. You cannot use anything from them. And compared with the US, there we have where something like fair use is established, where a lot more can be done. So, and of course, this is tricky if you see that situation. So you might be happy if you currently live or work in a country where this is possible. But as you all collaborative work in international projects, this is of course an issue because it depends now on where the learner works, where the platform is hosted, and so on, to really be sure that something can be done. And as you have seen as well, even teachers are not really properly informed what can be done or is allowed as well. I would just make another second, even simpler example. So is it allowed that a teacher, again in a public school, so we are not talking about universities, in a public school, is a teacher allowed to show an online video, for example, from YouTube in the classroom? Do you consider that this is okay? Yeah, and of course, concerning the comment by Jörg, so a lot of lobbyism is done by textbook publishers that they are super safe and cannot be reused at all. So any ideas on, is it allowed and okay to show a YouTube video in a classroom setting? So there's already one who is, Miriam is arguing about a license that might be there. In Kenya, yes, it's allowed. That's good to hear. Alexander as well says yes. Andreas is hesitating. I think so. So I can show the results from that a little bit older publication. If you are part of that listed countries, you see again, even such a simple thing. So we do not talk about illegal movie copies or so. We just talk about an online video which was published at YouTube, and if this is allowed to show in a classroom setting. And you see a lot of European countries have an issue with that. So of course, this is a problem. This is especially a problem if you work for an international organization like the UNESCO, like OECD. If you see these pictures and differences, and you want, for example, to fund a project on education, and you see, even if I fund a video, it might be not possible for all teachers in all countries worldwide to just use that. That makes it even complicated. So this is, of course, an additional issue that all these differences in copyrights um, brings in additional complicated situations. So I would like to set another question. So if now I'm a teacher, a lecturer, or a project funded by, for example, the European Union, the UNESCO, or another body who just wants to make something which can be used by anyone, what should I do? What can I do? And specifically, I would like to reassure that my offer can be used by learners as well. So not only teachers who might be some um, expert knowledge about copyright as well. What can I do that our learners will not get into trouble if you consider an open educational practice like a collaborative work on something or a project work done where you want to republish something in the end that was rearranged, translated, for example, and so on. What can we do? There might be a consideration that you have heard about public domain materials. So public domain materials are materials that you can just use because they are completely free. And this is, for Mary, this is a good option because she lives in the US. So US citizens can set something into public domain. This is part of the copyright law. You can do that, Mary. Congrats for you. For us, from all other parts about Africa, I'm not so sure, but for Europe, I'm quite sure it's not possible. For the colleague from Switzerland, that's different. In Switzerland, you might be able to do that, but not for all other European countries. You cannot set something into public domain. You have to wait till you are at least 50, but most of the time 70 years dead. Then all your materials are set free for public domain, but you cannot decide on just use that you are allowed to do as long as you are not a US citizen and live and work in the US. Of course, this won't work for collaborative things as well. So even if we want to try to set something free and give it to others, that's not really possible. So we cannot really waive our copyright away, at least not so easily. So to summarize this first introduction, being a good educator is not so easy. So because we can, for example, cite something, but we are not allowed to adapt something or to translate something or to rearrange, remix something. This is at least very, very limited, sometimes completely forbidden. And so everything what we currently want to do are doing is not possible as long as we don't use. And of course, you might suspect as well that open license and OER are now part of the solution. Not the solution, eventually as well the solution, because there is no other way to deal with that under these current developments of copyright laws. So if you're not living in the US, at least, if you want to offer something for us in the US, you can say, please just use that. You can set something in the public domain. I cannot do that as a German working in Austria. So I can, of course, publish something on my weblog and say, please just use that, or anyone who wants to can use, or if you are working in a school, you are allowed to use that. But that fits not, at least my current national copyright law. This is not enough. In my part of the world, at least, and there might be different for other countries, this is insufficient to just say, please, here you can just use that if it's not a single person. So if I just publish it on the web, this is not enough. I have to make a contract. A contract is something in between two persons, so I can easily do that via email or just make a short call and say, ask Jörg, for example, Jörg, you made such a nice photo. Can I use that in my presentation? And Jörg can just say, yes, it's okay for me. Please just do that. That's a contract. But of course, contacting people, like calling them, emailing them, if you don't even know them, it's a little bit tricky and not very helpful if you want to work in the night before you have to make a good teaching. You would like to have the things that you can find in the internet. So that contract is needed, and such contracts are provided by an organization called Creative Commons. And Creative Commons figured out to describe and make the correct legal texts for all the most relevant countries worldwide. So these are a lot of many experts for law, which came together and described texts, contracts that are fitting at least to most of the countries and copyright laws that they know. And so these contracts are more or less long, they are not very short. And we, as no legal experts, might not really understand them. But what they do as well, they make short versions which we understand. So if I now talk about Creative Commons license, so I mean not something technically, I mean a full text, a long text, which is a contract. And what is used to share these licenses are these small icons and a link to the license, which shows the full text. So we have a text which is done and written by lawyers. We have something which is understandable by you and me because we can just fulfill that. And we have as well a level which is meant for computers so that search machines and so on may figure out where in the internet are things using these specific contracts. And then on the following page, you see these icons for these contracts. So if I use such an icon, this is not really the contract, but if I use that, I'm referring to a specific contract. Typically, I use as well the correct current number of that contract variation to say, I publish something under these conditions. And these three icons you can see here are the three icons of the so-called open license provided by Creative Commons, because there are others as well. And CC stands for Creative Commons. So it might remind you to the copyright symbol. And of course, that is the key idea. That is not a copyright symbol here. It refers to Creative Commons, to a specific sort of contract. And this first specific sort of contract says, if you can use my material, you can modify it, you can use it for republication, you can use it as well for commercial purposes. The only thing that I want from you is that you name me as the author. And if you change something, that you shortly explain what you have changed. So nobody can say this is my mistake, for example. So this is the first open license. Shortly said, we call it CC BY license, or you can as well pronounce it in your language. And this is the license that allows you a lot, but you have the name to name or attribute the author. As you are all librarian, more or less, or working in higher education, so this is like a sort of citation. So we are used to that, and we would normally do that as well. The CC0 license here is something that was invented for Europe. So because it was not needed in the US, the Creative Commons started as well. So it was the latest invention of a new contract form, especially meant for the countries where we don't have the opportunity to set something into public domain. So here's a lot of text behind that contract called CC0, which means exactly that I set something into public domain, which is not the correct wording for that, but this is just the result. So if you see that license, you can use it just as you see it. Just copy and paste, use it as you want to. The only thing that is not allowed is that you say you have done that work. This is the only thing you're not allowed to. So I missed the license in the middle now. Similar to the first, CC means Creative Commons. BY means you have to name the author of that material that you use, adapt, translate, or whatever you want to. And additionally, you have to use the same license. So if you now find CC BY SA materials and you want to adapt them, translate them, make it part of your own work, you can do that, but that means that you now will be as well an OER developer, producer, because you are forced to use the same license. So this is typically nothing for, I think, beginners. So this is like you, because there are some things to considerate, because of course you should be aware that you don't make any copyright infringements with materials from other people. You need to as well publish under CC BY SA license now. So this is like sort of a thing for not the beginners, but CC BY and CC0 are really perfect. And this is where I will focus and where I will share some examples as well, so that you have some sort of takeaway which you can easily use as well at the end of this presentation. So I would like to jump here to just have a look on how this license look like. So I will just do a simple search for that specific license. I just took CC BY 4.0. And I would like to show you that in your case, it might be the first finding as well. Surprisingly, it's already in English. That's good, so you can see it as well. And then on the first page, you see what is more or less easy to understand. So here you see, if you find something using that license, I'm free to share, to copy, redistribute, and so on. I'm free to adapt. And the only thing I have to do is I have to attribute correctly. So appropriately is here. And if you're wondering after that meeting what that directly means, you can as well just go onto that and check what that means. So all these descriptions are more or less easy to understand. It's not so complicated. And you can, of course, if you want to as well, dive into the legal code. So I just wanted to show you this as well. This is really like the text where the people figured out how to deal with the things in a fitting way so that all jurisdictions worldwide will figure out how to do with that. So this is my presentation. So if you ever find out a license, just click on the license or search for the license, and you will find that explanations how you can use the related materials. And these open license and public domain materials are the core of what we currently see as OER. So according to the UNESCO, and I already explained why they were so keen on defining something like that and figuring out a solution for how can we bring or make education open and education materials available for everyone, that OER is defined as public domain materials or materials under an open license, which allows no cost access and allows use, repurpose, adaptation, and redistribution as well, always including commercial usage. This is very important because you might work as well on a university where there are some study fees, or where not all teach as a part of the paid stuff by government. So always, if there is some honorary in and so on, it's a commercial purpose. So this is very important that open license include commercial purposes, because even if it's only a few money, it is money, and it's very hard to say it's non-commercial if you, for example, get a honorary. So this is very important for education, that commercial usage is allowed in this OER definition as well from the UNESCO and other international organizations. So you might already have seen some of these resources I show in the background of my screen. So you might know the Wikipedia, for example, or other Wikimedia portals using typically CC BY SA license. So if you use materials from these pages, you should be safe that you publish again under the same license. So again, the CC BY SA license. And as well, you see other pages here. You see a Flickr page in the background. Here you find a lot of different licenses and a lot of materials which are just copyrighted but you might find as well materials which are available under CC0. Yeah, and to make it a little bit more concrete, just as a reminder. So I started with that more like legal copyright related point to introduce you to OER, but please don't see it only as that you got a permission to do something. So if someone uses an open license, he or she or the project typically want you to use that. So nobody uses an open license just for fun or because it is requested. Typically, a project, a person, a university wants that it is used. So see it like an invitation that somebody asks you to reuse their materials. This is quite okay. Please feel invited. And I have to add, before we start to go on and have a look on some examples, that there are other licenses too, specifically as well from Creative Commons. You see here some of the two other options in my background. So references to non-commercial use and references to that no derivation at all is possible. So the material should be always the same. These options can be as well combined, and then you have sort of other, I have to take this side here, other combinations, but these are not open license. These are no license that you should use if you want to really make something available and easy available for others, or if you may want to make open educational resources. But of course, there are a lot of things available under these more restricted licenses as well. So then let's jump to give you some hints and clues about existing examples. But I have to share here that, of course, it's a pity. Currently, we don't have really the one and only OER search engine. We don't have the one and only OER repository, not the same infrastructure. It's related to what is going on in your countries, and as well your languages that you use. So it's not nearly impossible for me to introduce you to key search machines, to key OER repertories, and so on. And I only want to give you some quick, not really dirty, I hope nice examples where you find some first materials that you can use, which you can see as OER. But please figure out and use search machines and as well your national infrastructures, if this is available, to figure out which are the kind solutions to get materials in your language from your country and so on. So to search and find OERs, there are a lot of different things available. I as well will share what we produced as a multilingual online course later, where we as well for several languages and nations, we figured out correct or fitting examples of how to find OER for these countries and so on. But of course, not for all. This is simple, not possible, I guess. So as a first takeaway for you, I would like to share you the website Coco Material, because eventually you already said these illustrations on the slides by Sandra are nice. Has she done it on her own? No, in these cases not. You might as well see here Schrödinger's cat. So Coco Material is a web page where you find nice materials that can be used easily on slides or posters. And of course, you can as well search here. You currently find more than 3,000 images available. I just have a look if there's a tomato for me. I hope so. Oh, luckily, you see there's a tomato. I can as well here reconfigure colors and so on and download it. And as you might have seen on my last slide here, I said this is available under CC0. But of course, you don't see any CC0. Of course, you can say, Sandra said that. No, I would like to show you that please always figure out if this is really correct, if you have a finding or if a website was shared or recommended with you that there is something on you, please figure out if this is really under an open license. So I will click on that tomato here. I find nothing concerning a license. So I would suspect that this is copyrighted. But as I suggest you that this website, I would highlight the license part here and show you that these materials are really available under the CC0 license. So that means these illustrations can be just used by copy and paste. And if I want to reassure that, because I just forgot about what the meaning of that license is, I can click on that and I see, oh, all these materials, there's no copyright on that. I can just use that copy and paste it into my illustration. This is just fine. So this is my first giveaway. I'm quite sure that somebody had already opened Cocoa materials and you shared as well links. Yes, thank you very much on this. I hopefully didn't oversee a question from you, but Jörg, you might interrupt me if there something pops up where we should discuss instantly on. So a second one, because Cocoa Materials is just like a quite nice example. It's not perfect because you only can search in English and so on, but it's really a quite nice example for materials that is available for free under an open license, so the CC0. I would like to make it show as well another example, which is more typical for something you call an OER repository. I would like to introduce you to Open Clip Art. Open Clip Art is a page which collects as well a lot of materials, but because they are so popular and so many people check these websites on a daily basis, eventually because of my OER courses as well, they need a lot of money to host the web service. And what they do, they have to use marketing. So they have advertisement on their web page. I have to shortly consider what to type in Open Clip Art. So they have a lot of advertisement on their pages, and you instantly see that. So here, oh my God, everything is popping up because I use a browser that you as well see everything what is going on, because this is very typically. And here, so this is an advertisement. Here the search function is here. So I will have a look if I find a small monster for you. Oh, there are several monsters. And again, they're popping up advertisement anywhere. So please be assured where you click on, because of course this advertisement can as well lead you to pages where materials or photos are on which are not under an open license. So I will just have a look, which monster do I like? Oh, I like this one. And again, oh my gosh, some advertisement. I will close that. Okay, and now I'm here. So this is what you typically should do if you have a page like this. Have a look on the detailed description, and do you see something like an open license? And in that case, again, no, I see no open license here. So I should start to hesitate. I should not use that because I think that might be copyrighted in that case of that platform. But as I said, I would like to show you something where it is possible. I know where I find the declaration that everything which is not advertisement at least can be used. So I know where to click so that you can be aware as well. So this is here under license, and here I have to scroll down. And of course, this is something you have to do if you want to be reassured that you are safe and where it is. Blah, 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 blah. Here. All cliparts are released into the public domain. This platform is hosted by the UK, where public domain might be possible as well. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. But in any cases, they as well say we use the Creative Commons Zero license, which is the same like a public domain attribution for the people who cannot use that. So again, open clip arts are available for you. You can again just copy and paste them, and I hope you have already two simple things that you might choose in your further work. Looking at the time, I have to be aware that I shouldn't show you all examples in details. So you might as well open it on your own. These are 2 or 3 examples where I see that it's easy to get, or easier than on other pages to get simple results. The Europeana is the collection of cultural work amongst Europe, where you find a lot of materials under different license and of course as well under open license. And typically you find something like you could need for some historical introduction to a new topic, because of course you will find a lot of old stuff. Typically things where people have died are set or available under common license. Another example here is I would like to probably highlight. So the first 2 examples were CC0 materials. But if you now have found something at the Europeana platform, for example, which is under CC by 4.0, what do you have to do? So as I said, if you're unsure, go on, search for the license, have a look what is written there, just do that. In that case of that CC BY license, I as well would like to show you an example. So if you found, for example, that link at Europeana, which is obviously, I'm not so sure about if I'm correct, but I think it was a tomato plant. And if you are interested in using that tomato plant because you are agriculturally interested and want to share something, you can, of course, always just link to that picture so that your learners can have a look on that, or you can now as well use the picture in your presentation. The only thing that you have to do, you have to name where you got it. So where is the author? And in that example, it's the National History Museum in Paris, who works like an author. And you have to name and link the license. So you have to say, okay, was published under CC BY 4.0, and add the license text or link to that specific license. This is what you have to do if you find something under CC BY 4.0. It might be different if it's a 2.0. This is part of the game, but this is how you can use it under 4.0. So this was another example and another repository which you can use as librarians and lecturers or researchers at universities. You might be as well aware that there are, for example, a lot of open access journals using open license as well. And of course, because this is part of what we call open access and the definition of open access as well, using open license. And if journals do that, of course, all these materials can as well used as open educational resources. So you can use then pictures, figures from that papers, or you can just build up on a whole course up on a single paper if that fits. And the DOAA oj.org website is a good possibility to start and have a look if you find a fitting open access journals using an open license as well. So in that case, this is my last example. Of course, as I work at the Graz University of Technology, where we host the National Austrian MOOC platform, I as well have to share our platform. So all Austrian universities and other e-learning, other European and global universities are allowed to host online courses on that platform, which is imoocs.at, and which is even more specific, all these courses have to use a Creative Commons license, and most of them use open Creative Commons license. So here you find not only like single articles or simple visualizations, which where I started from. Here you find whole courses on the level of higher education as well in your language, which you can use completely or partly, which as well, of course, you can adapt. Just to show you that again. So you see here, I just use English, and then you should only find courses that are available in English. And if I, for example, have a look for the topic of OER, you see that there are more than one course available on the topic of OER. And this one is the course I will highlight you later if you're interested in some more to learn about OER. So this is my last repository I wanted to share with you as part of some, oh, I have no, the last one that you can easily use or more easily use, because if you concentrate on CC BY, I have to add, as I said as well, that the most prominent open educational resource is Wikipedia, and I have already said this is available under a CSA license. That means if you use materials from Wikipedia, you have to share it again under the same license. So you become an OER publisher. And this is, of course, pretty cool and pretty nice. And I would love to see that all of you became a future OER contributor and use fluently as well Wikipedia materials, but that might be a little bit tricky. You might have look into some details on that. And for all who might be now not only interested, but as well infected in my presentation, I would like to suggest to go and have a look for this online course where I just said this might be something for you. What we have done in that online course here is together with partners from 8 different European countries, we developed a core OER MOOC, so an online course about OER in the field of higher education. And of course, we adapted it as well to our national or country-wise regulation, repositories, what is available here, do we have an OER policy, and so on. And when we did that, we met additional partners, and here you can see that we not only have European countries here like Polski and Français and Svenska, we have as well Asian languages here, Bahasa Indonesia, which is Indonesian language. We have as well Arabic and Turkish. So we have 3 Asian or African languages as well, where people said, okay, I would like to just jump into the project and as well adapt the MOOC into my own language. And of course, we appreciated that a lot. And yeah, if you're interested in finding out a little bit more upon OER, and you see as well a fitting language. So for all of you, it might be English, of course, I hope at least. But eventually you have here as well your native language. You can check this out and use that language variation. And this was, of course, not only possible because we were a partnership where a lot of languages were done. We as well used some kind of AI for this. So we have started to work on that course in autumn 2022. So we used HeyGen for that. No, it was 23, sorry. We used HeyGen for that. We wouldn't do that nowadays. We would try to figure out an open source software for that, but then we of course used that. And I just want to give you a glimpse on the production or the result of the videos. So I would like to show you the English version. of our AI avatars, yeah, giving some first introduction into the course.
Welcome to the online course on the topic of open educational resources.
This online course was developed under the direction of Martin Ebner and Sandra Schön from TU Graz.
The course was developed in the project Unite OER Courses project together with all partners of the European University Alliance Unite. All content is offered in several languages. To make this work, we both work with our virtual avatars.
Hi.
Hey.
Bonne journée.
Welcome.
Dobry dzień.
Isso é divertido?
Anche in italiano.
Benvingut.
Viel Spaß. In the language selection, you will find all languages. We hope you enjoy trying it out with us to see how well it works. We have developed this MOOC for you, and I would like to briefly explain the principle. The course lasts 4 weeks or is divided into 4 modules that build on each other. The learning material is videos, which are supplemented with further learning materials in the form of documents, links, etc. So now I would like to stop here because I think you might have an idea what an open online course is. And yeah, just I have to say that not all language variations used that avatars because the quality was not enough for some countries when we did that. If I'm right, the Finnish version was not produced because the Finnish avatar pronunciation was so weird for my colleagues. But as well, nevertheless, you see the English video with the Finnish subtitles. So this is kind of because it was produced in a time that not all these AI avatars were so perfectly and fitting. So to finalize my talk, of course, I now have the idea as well to say, why do we do that? Because it's not only because we can reassure that we don't have any copyright infringements. If you want to share something, there might be as well a lot of other good reasons as well why we in higher education should use OER, and there are some new reasons as well. Simply that, of course, for many funding organizations, a good reason for OER is that you reach more people. You might remember that on my first slide, you might see that girl. I made that illustration several years ago, published that under an CC0 license. And if it's a teacher, you know this, if you always see that finger, it's like a finger teacher. You always would always say this is a teacher. This is, you find that picture of me, which I have drawn on several educational materials. So you see the impact is quite big. I as well was, I'm a cover girl for videos and as well for books. So you see, I'm very good. The impact of that very small illustration is already, I think, not so bad. But of course, there are other good reasons as well, like if you want to use AI correctly and according to the law, then you have to use materials which you can and where you're allowed to upload it or use for your rack system and so on. So OER is very good if you have that to use for your AI. Of course, OER fosters open educational practices. You can use OER materials and give it and hand over it to students because it's not complicated, not as complicated to work with copyright secured materials. Sometimes you foster innovation because something new can develop with the help of OER. It is very helpful if you are in a collaborative project. It simplifies collaboration. It's very easy to say, let's make OER, because please remember, copyright law is different. So if I am writing a paper together with Mary from the US, she might expect something quite different from what is your copyrighted part and what is mine. I could dive into details here, but I would not. And of course, arguments such as sustainability, are very often heard, and less costs and effort for learners and teachers are especially an issue where textbooks are very expensive and not freely available. And something which is new, which is a very European perspective on that current world, is that OER is important as well for sort of digital sovereignty, so that we in Europe need our own stuff, which we can use, which is fitting to our culture and so on. And in that global setting, I'm of course looking forward if we find some minutes to discuss these aspects or OER in general and exchange some ideas of what you have seen today or what is going on in your part of the world. Thanks for listening today. As I already shared the slides of today's presentation, I will redo that as well for the people who might were late for that. And if you have any questions after that meeting, please just send me an email. I'm looking forward to answer. This is the right one, so here you see my email address if you want to stay in contact or just use typical social media as far as it is still available at least. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Mary had to leave already, but she had some questions. We will take them up next week at the workshop in week 2 for topic 2. But are there burning questions for Sandra at the moment? Or you have to process all this information and input and make this part of topic 2?
So of course I could as well answer Mary's question. So if you others are interested in that as well.
Yeah.
So I guess it was the longer one here.
Yeah.
Use all these images in a doc, for example. Do you need to put in the CC license logos? No. If you don't make OER on your own, you just have to be reassured that you make it like the license said. And the license doesn't said you have to place a big CC BY logo anywhere on each page. It only says, if you use, for example, this illustration, please make an appropriate attribution to the author. And that is not necessarily just beside that illustration. So it could be, if you make it in the same way for all illustrations as well, that it's only like a reference list on the last page. But you have to do it in the same way. So you cannot decide to say, oh, this is a real citation. I add here a citation, for example, using that. And this is just a simple visualization. I will just add it in a very small font size, for example, or at the end. This is not possible. So you have to make it in a similar way, but you don't have to use the icon. It's only that you say, oh, this illustration was done by Sandra. I have to name Sandra Schön, and add, she published it under CC BY 4.0. That would be enough. And of course, if it's only a simple illustration, this is sometimes not so nice, but my examples made you free. So I showed you 2 examples of CC0 collections where no attribution at all is to be used. So you can just copy and paste them anywhere in your publication if you want to.
Excellent, thank you. Any other question before we close for today? No, I'm sure there will be things coming up. Get in touch with Sandra, raise them at next week's workshop, or put them in the ONL 252 forum. Or Andreas or Kasai, did you have something? Or no? All good. Then Sandra, once again, thank you so much. Fantastic walkthrough the licenses, why we need to do this, and hopefully we will see much more Creative Commons licenses now at blog posts, reflections posts, and in PowerPoint presentations in around the globe.
Thank you very much.
So
Love to see it as well. Yes.
yeah, thanks a million, and see you around, people.
Thank you.